Hello and welcome to True Guidance Tarot. I'm Adriana Teodoro-Dier. I'm a spiritual medium and intuitive reader and your guide to a clearer perspective. I've got a message for Scorpio today, and I've asked my guides to bring a message through the cards that will be deeply meaningful and helpful for you this week on your spiritual journey. So Scorpio, I have to say there's something in this reading that I don't like to do for collective necessarily, but I'm strongly getting the message to be as specific as I'm going to tell you in a second. So let's just get right into your card, shall we? We've got the Two of Cups for the energy that the universe sends you this week. This is the specific thing. This is talking about a relationship. This is talking about you being the way you are in certain relationships. This is not a predictive reading about the relationship itself. This is a reading about you within the context of whatever relationship I'm talking about here. So this is one of these, with this card, we get the idea of promise, we get the idea of freshness, but of the idea that things are not fully formed yet. So this says to me that this relationship we're talking about is still in progress, it's still working, it's still growing and evolving because you as individuals are still growing and evolving in your own ways at your own rates. Okay, now we've got the Wheel of Fortune, and you're sensing a shift. You're sensing some kind of change happening, whether it's within yourself, within this relationship, something, but you just know that there's something moving and shifting and turning. And this is the beginning of the shifting and turning. I want to say, strange, man, they're being so specific right now. This is kind of a 10-month trajectory that we're looking at. I know this is card number 10, but they are saying very specifically we're talking about kind of 10 months of change and mutation and transformation and growth going on. That's going to be available for you. Okay, now this is all coming into perspective. It's going to be available for you. So just understand that's where you're headed, is for that 10-month really big trajectory of growth and transformation. Now let's look at the next cards because these are super interesting. And I forgot to mention before, I got a suggestion from a viewer to add an advice card at the end of the readings. So I am including one at the end, so make sure to stick around for that. We have got the 10 of Swords, the Lord, and the 2 of Pentacles for the continuation of your story. So this is you knowing that something needs to end and knowing that there's something firmer that needs to be put in place, but kind of still not sure if you really want to drop a certain aspect of yourself. When I drew these cards first, all of the information just came in this big whoosh. So I have to try to piece it back together and tell it to you in a way that makes sense. I was initially very confused by these two cards because I kind of why is she not sure of this one? Why aren't these cards blending together? And I see what's going on. You're really being asked to stop a negative pattern for good. Okay? Whatever your habitual negative pattern is, you're being asked, you're done with it. You need to be done with it. You've recognized that you need to be done with it, but there's part that's not sure if you want to drop it. A little bit of the ambiguity of this Two of Pentacles card. You see how she's juggling? And she has this kind of non-committal expression on her face. So you're kind of not sure if it should end. And part of the reason is because the power and the truth of this card is a little bit scary. There's some kind of if I stop shifting around, if I stop this kind of going back and forth between positive and negative behavior patterns in this relationship, it's like you're afraid to commit to this energy of the right and the true. Now, this energy is very interesting because he's very much about boundaries, and I want to say standards, holding yourself to a high spiritual standard. You'll notice we have that divine messenger in the background, the eagle, and he's also got antennas or psychic antlers coming out of his head. So there's the feeling of power, there's a feeling of groundedness, and there's a feeling I'm not going to let you go there because it's not good for you. And there's resistance, though, on the part of you because it's almost like you don't want to let a certain aspect of yourself go. That old pattern is too easy to cling on to. Then we come to this card, the Two of Pentacles, and she's got one pentacle here, one pentacle up here. And it's funny because it actually looks like, if we look at this as one flow coming off this way, it looks like she's headed into this storm. So it's a little bit weird. Like there's a contradiction of, okay, I know I need to go to this safer, higher ground, but at the same time, I seem to be wanting to go into this darkness. But the interesting thing is the darkness is actually lifting into this lighter pink, the lighter yellow. So what you feel is going into darkness is actually going into light, going into the dawn of a new day, the experience of something completely new. So I really hope this is making sense to you, because it's coming in like this, kind of on top of each other and through each other. So on one hand, you're being asked to end something that's going to put you in a stable place, in a higher ground. And on the other side, you feel yourself going to what seems like a dangerous place, like a non-safe place for you. It's not that same negative pattern that was back here, but it's going into the unknown. Like you're not sure what's going to be there, and there's a little bit of fear with it. Like, you know, if I drop this pattern, how am I going to identify myself? If I stop acting this way in the relationship, well, then what identity does the relationship have? There's all of those questions, and they have the tendency to want to take you into that dark space. But I see this dark space lifting to show you, and we get a glimpse of it, that there's actually something else behind it, some other kind of transformation and some other kind of movement. So if we kind of remember what we were talking about before, we're talking about a 10-month transformation, and it's the transformation of you. And what they don't want is for this relationship pattern that you're addicted to hold you back from that transformation. So whatever this relationship triggers in you, that's what they're asking you to drop. That part of yourself is what they're asking you to drop so that you can continue to grow and evolve into that new space that we just don't know what it is yet, because remember, this is 10 months out. So they're telling me to go to the advice card next. And I just knew I was going to pull this card for you. As I was shuffling this deck, I said, I knew it's going to be this card. It is Pluto, the Judgment card. Now look at this. These are two completely different decks, two completely different worlds, but look how similar they are. And I feel like this card sums up the entire reading. Pluto is the ruler of you, the ruler of Scorpio. It has to do with transformation, going into our darkness to meet our shadow so that we can mine the riches that are down there. Am I pointing to the jewels? There's jewels that he's holding. When we transform that shadow self, the dark parts of ourself, we get the richness of our true self, of our higher self. And there's hidden gems buried in that shadow. This is also the separation of right and wrong, of light and dark, of good and evil, of life and death. That's also the parallel judgment idea going on in this card. And he's sitting there just like the Lord saying to you, you know where you have to go. I don't want you just to separate out your light and dark. I want you to transmute it. I want you to transform it. This is the culmination of the scorpionic energy in this card, that you can take something so dark and something that's so not negative, so not beneficial to you, and you can completely burn it up in the fire and it comes out as gold. It's alchemy, right? It's jewels, it's riches. You can change it into something, an aspect of yourself that is not only beneficial for you, it's beneficial for the rest of the world. This personal process that you're doing is incredibly beneficial beyond just yourself. It seems so small, like I just have to drop a behavior pattern, like worrying or obsessing or whatever it is. But the implications are so much bigger. I mean, Judgment Day is kind of the end. You know, this is the day where it's the day of reckoning. It's the day of coming to the truth of who you are and the sins and whatever the opposite of sin is, the good and the bad. I'm not religious. I'm not I'm not really into that, but I'm just saying these are the symbologies that are in this card. So we're talking about letting go of one darkness to go into another darkness of the unknown, but knowing that at the bottom of that darkness is the most precious, deepest, most shining jewel, the most crystallized, gorgeous, and important part of yourself that is going to come up and come out in the next 10 months. So I don't even have words for how huge this is. I hope you're getting it from the pictures, because I feel like they're doing a better job than I am at describing to you what exactly is at stake here. It's not just about making this relationship more functional. It's about going to the core of who you are and becoming transcended from that place into something that's lasting and valuable and is a jewel, brings joy, and really that idea of value brings you much more wealth than you could ever imagine. So if you've got questions about this, please reach out in the comments. I always love to hear from you. You're also welcome to check out my website, trueguidancetarot.com. I love giving one-on-one readings as well as doing these collective readings. They just really make me shine and light up. So if you're looking for something or you know someone who is, please check out that website. And I look forward to seeing you next time on True Guidance Tarot. Have a good week.